What's up, guys? This is going to be a new video series that I'm going to be doing. I've been drumming for the past few years and I really love music in general. And over the past year or 2 years, I've been delving into a bunch of different genres, kind of gaining new perspectives and new viewpoints on music as a whole. So, I want to do this series where I essentially take music that I believe has a pretty deep meaning and kind of deconstruct it and what I interpreted the music as. And what's always great about music is there can, for most songs, there can be different meanings, right? The artist could have written it as this meaning, but then you listen to it and you interpret it as something completely different, and then you look up what the artist wrote it for, and you're like, oh, I didn't think about it that way. But that's just a beautiful thing about music. And so the first song that I want to start off with is The Unforgiven by Metallica. So what I essentially took from when I originally listened to the song the first few times is that this is a song mainly about regret and not being able to forgive yourself, your life decisions, maybe other people in your life as well. And so I'm going to go through the lyrics and kind of deconstruct what I initially interpreted them as. So, start at the beginning of the song. New blood joins this earth, and quickly he's subdued. Through constant pain and disgrace, the young boy learns their rules. I think as a child, when you're brought into the world, if you grew up in a structured family, then life is just, you're young, you're curious about everything, everything's joyful, everything's new, everything's creative. And then you start to go through school and you start to learn the rules about reality. When you're born, when everything seems new to you, there's no rules. You just do whatever you can, you touch anything you can, right? But in the world, there's rules. And the young boy learns the rules. You learn those rules pretty quickly. Once you're going to school, you have to, oh, you guys have to sit down, you can't talk until you raise your hand, you can't do this, blah blah blah, you can do this, and the restrictions set in. And initially you've had no restrictions. Now of course your mind isn't fully developed and you don't have much perspective on what reality is, but everything's created to you, and then you have to learn the rules. Moving on. With time the child draws in, this whipping boy done wrong, deprived of all his thoughts, the young man struggles on and on. He's known, and then it goes on. So, this whipping boy done wrong, deprived of all his thoughts, the young man struggles on. I think a lot of us get to a point in our lives, maybe in our teenage years, where we start to feel deprived of our own thoughts. If we're thinking different things than other people, and we feel like we're different, we're an outcast, and we feel like we can be we're not deprived of the thoughts when we're thinking them, but in a sense, when you're young, you might want to deprive yourself of them so you can fit in to be like everyone else, because we're humans, we're social creatures, and especially when you're younger, you want to fit in. We're taught to care about what other people think and to connect with people, which isn't a bad thing at all. And, I feel like in this song, if James is talking about himself, he's struggling on and on, right? Alright, moving on. A vow into his own, that never from this day his will they'll take away. Think in society nowadays, a lot of people in general, and, especially men, have had their will taken away because of multiple reasons. But everyone goes through difficult situations, and over time, some people have bad experience after bad experience after bad experience, and their will kind of withers away. And when they might start to look at the world in a very negative light, and oh, like everyone's out to get me, blah blah blah, thoughts like that, and then your will is taken away. But essentially it's by yourself, because you are choosing to think a certain way. And when you think those certain thought patterns, then you're essentially taking your own will away. And then moving on, this is like into the chorus. What I've felt, what I've known, never shine through in what I've shown, never be, never see, won't see what might have been. I think a lot of people go throughout their lives not seeing what could have happened, not being what they could have been, not seeing what they could have seen, because you looked at life a certain way, and won't see what might have been. You might decide to live your entire life based on what other people want for you. Oh, your friend says, oh, you should do this. You should do this for your job. Your parents say, oh, you have to do this. You listen to that. But on the other side, in the back of your mind, you have your idea of what you want to do with your life. But if you choose to not do that, then you won't see what might have been, how much happier you could have been. And that's not to say that if you take a life path that isn't your own, you can't be happy. But I think if you choose to do what you're passionate about and what you truly want to do, you will be much better off. And another thing I thought of about, never be, never see, won't see what might have been. I think a lot of people just don't see what they're capable of. We put so many limitations on ourselves. I can't do this. I can't do that. I want to run a mile. No, I can't run a mile. I'm not good enough for that. My body isn't in enough shape. You can make it in shape. You can work towards that. You can start with 0.2 miles, then go to 0.5. You can work towards something. I've even struggled a lot in my life with kind of believing I can do something. So a certain goal seems so far away, but you could think smaller and start small. Start smaller, because every great person, every great musician, every great artist, every great baseball player, anyone started somewhere. They most likely were not very good when they first started, but they were passionate about it, and they're like, all right, let's see how far I can take this. And they trained and they trained and they got more creative, and they found other outlets and found new ideas and structured things out, and then they got to the place they were at. Who's to say that can't be you? So stop putting limitations on yourself. You can always go farther than you really believe you can. And then moving on a little bit, what I've felt, what I've known, never shine through in what I've shown, never free, never me, so I dubbed the Unforgiven. Never free, never me. I think as a society, we are often not ourselves. We put on a mask when we go in certain public situations, and we act this way around this person, a different way around that person, but that's not how it should be. Now, of course, in certain settings, a business setting compared to when you're just chilling with your friends, there's a different demeanor and stuff, but for you to fundamentally kind of change your opinions and who you are for a certain group of people, you shouldn't do that, because nobody's ever going to get to know the real you. So I think a lot of people have this mask when they go out in public, and they never take that off, except when they're with themselves or maybe with one really close friend. But as a whole, they hear everyone talking about this, doing this, so they say, I have to do that too. I can't think about this because this thing that I'm thinking about is different than what they're thinking about and what they're talking about. I have to do and think what they're doing. And so you're never really you. You never really express to people what you feel, what you believe. And so no one will ever know the real you. And you'll be left feeling as lonely as possible, because you will have nobody to connect with, because you'll be talking about certain things, and to a degree you'll feel a little bit connected because you're connecting with them on the topic, but you don't really care about that topic. You don't really care about that much. So the most important thing is to be yourself and express yourself, because nobody will ever know who you truly are without that. And then I think this is the next verse. They dedicate their lives to running all of his. He tries to please them all. This bitter man he is. If you go throughout your entire life, or just a certain period of time, trying to please other people, not doing things for you, what you truly believe, what you truly want, you're going to be bitter. If you try to please, you will never be able to please everyone. You'll never be able to do it. So don't try. Now, there's certain situations where you're going to have to try and please some people, but it can be in your own way. And for the most part, you should do things that you truly want, that you truly believe in. This, what you truly want, what you truly believe in, this keeps coming up because it's the most important thing. That is your life. What you believe and what you want to do, that is your life. That is you. That is the real you, not all the stuff that you're trying to do to fit in. And being an outcast and not always fitting in isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes people are doing things that aren't healthy for themselves and for those around them, but since it's normalized, they're all doing it. But you don't have to do it. And I guarantee, if you live your life differently, but you are fundamentally thinking different things and trying to do different things, you will eventually meet the right people. There might be a period of time where you don't have many people to connect with, but eventually you will. And so don't try to please everyone. It's never going to be possible because everyone's always going to judge each other. People are always going to judge you no matter what you do, whether you're trying to do something positive, something neutral, whatever. People are always going to judge you for it. There's always going to be people who are like, oh no, you shouldn't do that, you can't do that. Doesn't matter what they're saying, man. If you enjoy doing it, just do it. Moving on. Throughout his life the same, he's battled constantly. This fight he cannot win. A tired man they see no longer cares. So I think when people please everyone in their life for long enough, you get to a point where you get so tired of just existing that you don't care anymore. You don't care about yourself anymore, what you believed, because all of that you left in the past, and you just live to please everyone else. So you start to not care about life or about yourself, and then everything goes down. Then, the next line, the old man then prepares to die regretfully. That old man here is me. So in the song, he's talking about how, alright, this is the life I lived. I am dying regretfully. I'm prepared to die, but I'm not prepared to die in the sense of like, alright, I lived a good life. Now if something happens, it's alright. I'm ready to die because I have nothing left. I have nothing left of me left. So you always have to express yourself and do you. And so after that, it's essentially just the verse repeated, and there's a guitar solo and everything. And the title and the line, so I dubbed the Unforgiven. It's like he's unforgiven. He can't forgive himself for the life he made himself live. And I looked up, so that was my interpretation of the song, and I also looked up the meaning of the song, and this is explorerockmusic.blogspot.com. What this says on here is that James Hetfield, who is the singer, songwriter, and one of the guitarists in the band in Metallica, his father left when he was in his early teenage years. I believe he was 13, and so his mother was single and left to raise him and his sister, and at 16 she died from an illness, and it was from cancer. And James felt like an outcast at school. His family was very Christian, but he was questioning, why, and for science classes he had to step out because his parents didn't want him to learn about science. They just believed that, alright, what God says and what the Bible says is the truth, and whatever new science and they're trying to teach you, it's BS. But James, after all these tragic events happened in his life, he started to question, why did my parents put so much faith in God and the Bible when they let their lives crumble and ultimately mine, is what I'm getting at, because his father left when he was 13, his mother died when he was 16, and he was all alone. All this stuff, he's like, what, why are my parents thinking about God and like living a good life by the Bible and stuff like that when they destroyed our lives, they destroyed our family. And so it said that James said that after that he contemplated, I can't say the word on YouTube, but and so essentially, give the song a listen. The song is absolutely amazing. You really feel the lyrics as well, and you can connect to them. And so, it's just such a beautiful thing that, James can write it about, his childhood, it seems like, and stuff like that. And then also I can interpret it in a different way. And then I can research this and then find out what it meant when he wrote it. So that's the first in the series, The Unforgiven by Metallica. Check it out. I'll catch you guys in the next one.